So we're on number 7, okay? So again, 2 times the square root of x minus 5 equals 11, okay? That's the equation, all right? First step is to get the radical by itself. The radical is the square root of x. Just this square root is the radical, right? Gotta get it by itself, okay? So first thing I need to do is move this 5, right? So I'm gonna add 5 to both sides. Okay? That drops down, so you have 2 times the square root of x. Negative 5 plus 5 cancels out, equals 11 plus 5 is 16. Okay? Got to divide by 2 to get rid of the 2. Divide by 2 on both sides, so that cancels out. You're left with square root of x equals 16 divided by 2 is 8. Okay? Now we have the radical by itself, so we're done with step 1. All right? Now we can move on to step 2, square both sides. Okay? So you have x equals 8 times 8 is 64. That's the solution you get. Okay? And now I'm going to check it. All right? I'm going to check it, so I'm just plug in the number. So 2 times the square root of 64, right, that's what we got for x, minus 5 equals 11. 2 times the square root of 64 is just saying 2 times 8 minus 5 equals 11. 2 times 8 is 16, minus 5 equals 11. 16 minus 5 is 11, equals 11. That is true. So there are no extraneous solutions. Okay? No extraneous solutions.
Overall, a lot of absences. She did a few assignments, and unfortunately nowhere near enough to give her a pass, and she also didn't take the final or the midterm, or I guess it's the unit exam. If she did those,
Okay, last one. That is our last one.
everything's online, but it is saved on the Google Classroom, so she can log in at any time and download it or work on it directly.
Okay, number 8.
Now, as far as the actual paper itself to hand over something, I guess I can go ahead and formulate something and give it to her. It'll be the password, because I'm changing the time as we go, but she would have to complete it and return it to me at some point. And I know the school was running against that.
Okay, step 1. That would be get the radical by itself. So it is by itself on one side. All right.
Well, how about this?
So,
Minimum, perhaps,
step 2 is to square both sides.
Perhaps just photograph it and text it by email, and that way I can see it. mean, I'd be willing to accept that if she
Okay.
doesn't understand the concept of what she's,
When I square this side, right, you have to square it, and I don't know what y'all call it, but I call it foiling. Okay, so it'll be x minus 3 times x minus 3. Okay, equals square root of x minus 1 squared. That just gets rid of the radical, so you're left with x minus 1. Okay, so that's what it should look like. X minus 3 times x minus 3. All right, and if you notice, there's a variable on both sides now. Okay, so there's a variable on both sides. All right. So here you need to FOIL this to get the polynomial, right? So you do x times x, right? X times x gives you x squared. Now I'm going to do x times negative 3. That just gives me negative 3x. Okay, then you do negative 3 times x. Again, negative 3x. You do negative 3 times negative 3. That gives you positive 9. Okay, and you bring the rest down. Equals x minus 1. All right, so that gives you the equation that you get. Some of y'all use the box method. Okay, I use FOIL, where you just FOIL it. But you can also use the box method. It's up to you. All right, and I need to simplify my equation. I'm going to simplify my equation. So I have x squared, negative 3x minus 3x gives me negative 6x, plus 9 equals x minus 1. Okay? Equals x minus 1. So now we just did step 2. Okay, so now we're going to do step 3 to solve for the variable. But I need everything to be on one side. When the variable's on both sides, everything needs to be on one side. So right here. Everything on one side at this point. Everything's on one side at this point. Okay, so that means I got to move the 1 first. Right, so I got to add 1. I add 1 over here. That gives me x squared minus 6x. 9 plus 1 gives me plus 10. Equals x. And then that cancels out. So that's what I'm left with. Okay, but now I got to move the x to the other side as well. Right? There's a positive x, so I'm just going to subtract an x. Subtract an x from one side, do it from both sides. So now I have x squared minus 7x, because it's negative 6x minus x, so it gives you minus 7x plus 10 equals 0, right? Because that cancels out. Okay. Now, the way you get the solution for this one is you gotta, what is the way I do? I write my factor, I write this number here, 10, and I think about all the factors that create 10. So 1 and 10, right? 1 times 10 is 10. 2 times 5 is 10, right? 2 times 5, 1 times 10. 1 times 10. Okay? You think which pair you can use to create a 7. Okay? So I'm going to use the 2 and the 5. All right, so when I write this, it's going to be x. You have x over here. Okay, you're just going to fill them in. Well, we know that's a negative 7, so it has to be a minus 2, and it has to be a minus 5. Right? Minus 2 and minus 2 and minus 5. Okay? If you add them together, that gives you the negative 7. Okay? And if you multiply negative 2 and negative 5, that gives you a positive 10, so it works out. Okay? And now I just got to solve for my my solution, right? So I'll have x minus 2, okay? Your solution would just be opposite, so it'll be x equals positive 2. Because it's x minus 2, so x equals positive 2. Okay, on this side, x minus 5, so x equals positive 5. Okay, and these are the two solutions that you get. All right? Two solutions that you get, and then you still have your last step, which you got to check. Okay? You got to check. So I'm going to check for x equals 2 to see if it's extraneous. Okay? So I'm going to use the original equation. So I have x minus 3, but for x you're going to put in 2. So 2 minus 3 equals square root of x minus 1, which is just 2 minus 1. Okay, so I'm just checking. I'm just using the original equation. X minus 3 equals square root of x minus 1. And I just filled in the 2 because we're checking for x equals 2. Okay, 2 minus 3 gives me negative 1 equals the square root of 2 minus 1 is 1. Okay, so you have negative 1 equals the square root of 1 is just 1. Last time I checked, negative 1 does not equal 1, so that is false. Okay, so x equals 2 is extraneous. Okay, but I still got to check for my other, check for x equals 5. So check for x equals 5. Same thing, just fill in the numbers. So 5 minus 3 equals square root of 5 minus 1. 5 minus 3 is 2. Okay, 5 minus 3 is 2. 2 equals square root of 5 minus 1 is 4. 2 equals the square root of 4 is just 2. And that is true. Okay, so the way you would write this answer, the way you would write this answer would be something like, it's going to say like, what are the solutions? It would be like x equals 5, and then you would write x equals 2 is extraneous. Okay, and that's what it would look like, something like that.